If you've ever flown, you know the dread of waiting for your suitcase, hoping it survived the journey. But some brands are basically guaranteed to fail: zippers that explode, handles that snap, and shells that shatter. I bought the 7 most complained about suitcase brands on the internet, notorious for epic failures. Today we're putting them through brutal tests, so you don't have to. By the end, you'll know exactly which brands to avoid to save your next trip from disaster. Let's get started. First up, we have Brand A, which we've nicknamed the Zipper Exploder 5000. At first glance, it actually looks pretty decent. The exterior is sleek, the handles feel sturdy, and the wheels roll smoothly across the floor. If you were shopping online or browsing in a store, you might be tempted to pick this one up, especially since it's often on sale and comes in a bunch of trendy colors. But as we all know, looks can be deceiving, especially when it comes to luggage that needs to survive the chaos of modern travel. Before we even started testing, we did a little research. The internet is absolutely packed with horror stories about this suitcase's zippers. We're talking hundreds of 1-star reviews, all complaining about the same thing: the zipper failing at the worst possible moment. Some people said their suitcase burst open on the baggage carousel, others had it split in the middle of a trip, and a few even had their belongings spill out in the middle of a busy airport. Not exactly the kind of excitement you want on vacation. To see if these complaints were legit, we decided to put Brand A through the ultimate stress test. We packed it to the absolute brim with bowling balls. Way more weight and pressure than you'd ever have with normal travel gear. We wanted to see just how much punishment this zipper could take before giving up. After all, if it can't handle a little extra weight, how's it going to survive a week-long trip with souvenirs, shoes, and toiletries? As we zipped it up, you could actually hear the zipper teeth straining and the fabric stretching to its absolute limit. The tension was so intense it felt like the zipper was about to burst at any second. You could see the stitching pulling apart and the plastic zipper track starting to warp. It's the kind of sound that makes you wince, especially if you've ever had a suitcase fail on you mid-trip. Next up, the infamous drop test. We wanted to simulate what really happens to your luggage behind the scenes at the airport, so we dropped the suitcase from waist height, just like a baggage handler might do when loading or unloading a plane. 3, 2, 1, drop. The suitcase hit the ground with a heavy thud, and for a split second, everything seemed fine. But then, disaster struck. The zipper exploded open, and bowling balls went rolling in every direction. The suitcase was left gaping open, its contents scattered all over the floor. It was a total mess, and exactly the kind of nightmare scenario travelers dread. Imagine if this happened with your clothes, electronics, or important documents inside. This is exactly what all those online reviewers warned about. A single impact, and the zipper rips right away from the fabric. The stitching was so weak it barely held together under pressure. You could see where the zipper track had separated from the suitcase, leaving a jagged, useless edge. It's clear this design just isn't built to last. The root of the problem? Cheap plastic zippers and flimsy stitching. Instead of using strong metal zippers or reinforced seams, Brand A cut corners with the cheapest materials possible. The result is a suitcase that looks good on the outside but falls apart the moment you actually need it to perform. Trying to fix this suitcase is like holding a car door on with tape. No matter how much you patch it up, it's destined to fail again. You might get through one more trip, but you're always one bump away from disaster. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be the person frantically taping their suitcase together in the middle of an airport. If you travel with Brand A, you're basically gambling with your belongings. One rough baggage handler, one overstuffed suitcase, or one unlucky drop, and your clothes could be on display for the whole airport to see. It's just not worth the risk, no matter how good the deal seems. Our advice? Avoid Brand A at all costs. There are plenty of better options out there that won't leave you stranded with a broken zipper and a pile of spilled clothes. And believe it or not, this is just the beginning. We've got 6 more suitcase disasters to go, so buckle up, things are about to get even messier. Next up, let's talk about Brand B, a suitcase that's become infamous among frequent travelers for one glaring reason: its handle. If you've ever found yourself anxiously gripping your luggage, hoping the handle will survive just one more trip, you're not alone. Brand B's handle has a reputation, and unfortunately, it's not a good one. The main complaint echoed by countless users: the telescoping handle has a nasty habit of snapping off at the absolute worst possible moment, usually when you're rushing to catch a flight or weaving through a crowded terminal. Straight out of the box, the handle feels alarmingly wobbly and insubstantial. There's no reassuring click, no sense of sturdiness, just a loose, rattling mechanism that inspires zero confidence. It's the kind of handle that makes you second-guess every step you take, wondering if this will be the moment it gives out. To put it to the test, we loaded the suitcase with 50 pounds of sand, simulating a heavy packing job, and dragged it over rough cobblestone streets, just like you might encounter in a historic European city or an old airport parking lot. Almost immediately, the handle started to rattle and flex under the weight, and every bump in the road made it feel like the handle was about to snap in your hand. The flexing wasn't just a minor annoyance, it was a warning sign that disaster was imminent. Halfway through our test, the handle bent awkwardly and jammed in a half-extended position. No amount of gentle coaxing or forceful tugging could get it to retract or extend fully. You're left awkwardly dragging your suitcase with a crooked, stuck handle, drawing stares from everyone around you. And then, just as so many online reviews warned, the handle snapped off completely. It didn't just break, it detached with a dramatic pop, leaving you holding a useless piece of plastic while your suitcase sits helplessly on the ground. Now, instead of rolling your luggage smoothly, you're forced to carry a heavy, awkward box through a busy airport. It's uncomfortable, exhausting, and exactly the kind of travel nightmare you hope to avoid. Upon closer inspection, it's clear why this happens. The handle is made from brittle, cheap plastic that simply can't withstand the rigors of real-world travel. It's a glaring design flaw that should have been caught in the testing phase, but somehow made it to production. In the end, Brand B's Suitcase is a perfect example of how a single weak point can ruin an entire product. If you value your back, your sanity, and your travel experience, this is one suitcase you'll want to avoid at all costs. Brand C is the unfortunate result of trying to save a few bucks at the expense of everything that makes a suitcase usable. It manages to combine the worst features of budget luggage, weak zippers that barely hold together, a handle that feels like it could snap at any moment, and a shell that flexes so much you wonder if it's made of recycled soda bottles. The wheels, instead of gliding smoothly, grind and catch on every surface, making even a short walk through the airport feel like a struggle. The handle is a disaster. Wobbly, thin, and so poorly attached that it feels like it's hanging on by a thread. Every time you lift the suitcase, you're gambling with your belongings. The zipper is even flimsier than Brand A's, with teeth that barely interlock and a pull tab that feels like it could snap off with a gentle tug. It's the kind of zipper that makes you nervous every time you try to close your bag. To put Brand C to the test, we packed it with bricks. Literally. We wanted to see if it could handle the kind of abuse a real traveler might throw at it, from overstuffed loads to rough handling. We dragged it up a flight of stairs by the handle, just like you might when you're rushing to catch a train or navigating a crowded terminal. Then, for good measure, we sent it tumbling down the stairs, simulating the kind of accidental drop that happens all too often during travel. The results were immediate and catastrophic. On the way up, the handle bent alarmingly, making it almost impossible to get a secure grip, and on the way down, the suitcase simply couldn't take the punishment. The shell cracked, the wheels popped off, and the whole thing came apart at the seams. By the time it reached the bottom, the handle had ripped out, the zipper had burst wide open, and the bricks we packed inside were scattered everywhere. It didn't just fail, it completely disintegrated, leaving a trail of broken plastic and shattered dreams. Brand C is a masterclass in cutting corners. Every component, from the shell to the handle to the zipper, is a study in how not to build luggage. It's as if the manufacturer set out to see just how cheaply they could make a suitcase and still call it luggage. Weak zipper, weak handle, weak shell. There's not a single redeeming feature to be found. Every part is a potential point of failure, and together, they add up to a suitcase you simply can't trust. If you see this brand in a store or online, do yourself a favor and run the other way. Your belongings and your sanity will thank you. Brand D looks premium, but the handle is its fatal flaw. Reviews say it gets stuck or the internal mechanism shatters after just a few uses. We set up a robotic arm to extend and retract the handle repeatedly. At first it works fine, but after a couple hundred cycles, the movement gets sticky. By cycle 243, the handle jams in the up position, completely stuck. That's only a few round trips worth of use. Brand D is all style, no substance, cheap internal parts doomed to fail. Don't be fooled by the looks. This suitcase won't last. Brand E's zippers are infamous for jamming and snapping. Even empty, the zipper catches and snags on the liner. We used a robot to zip and unzip it repeatedly. By cycle 84, the teeth are bent and the fabric is fraying. At cycle 112, the pull tab snaps off, leaving the suitcase stuck half open. The zipper track is flawed, the liner is in the way, and the pull tab is weak. Brand E is a nightmare to use and will leave you stranded. Brand F doesn't just have one flaw, the whole thing falls apart. The shell is thin and brittle, the wheels and seams are weak. We put it in the tumbler of doom with heavy objects for a minute. Within seconds, wheels fly off, the shell cracks, and seams split. By the end, it's barely recognizable. Shattered, broken, and useless. Brand F is a scam. It looks like luggage, but can't survive a single flight. Don't waste your money. Finally, Brand G, the grand finale of failure. It combines every flaw: wobbly handle, jam-prone zipper, brittle shell, and rogue wheels. For the ultimate test, we overpacked it, dragged it over cobblestones, sent it downstairs, and finished with the tumbler of doom. The handle jammed almost immediately. On the stairs, the zipper burst and the shell cracked. In the tumbler, it disintegrated. Plastic shards and fabric everywhere. Brand G didn't just fail, it was erased from existence. This is the single worst suitcase in the world. 7 brands, 7 epic failures. Zippers exploded, handles snapped, and one suitcase turned to dust. These brands all cut corners using the cheapest materials to trick you. Your luggage should protect your trip, not ruin it. Always read the 1-star reviews before you buy. Now, share your worst suitcase horror story in the comments. Let's help each other avoid these disasters. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We do crazy tests like this all the time to save you money and frustration. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.